Carpe diem, my name is Ultranatic, and here's another Total Drama Vlog going over the 9th episode of the reboot, and this episode is titled Battlefield Earth. 10 out of 10 title. I absolutely love that. Don't change the thing. That's absolutely perfect. Those are the kind of puns you should be striving for with this show. It's just amazing. Yeah, I kind of like where the episode goes by the end, intriguingly. But to get to that point, we gotta start from the beginning. And something that I thought was pretty cool about the episode is that it is much more strategically focused with these contestants throughout, because it opens with Millie and Priya again training. I kind of like that. Like, a couple of these episodes have had that for an opening. It feels like a pretty decent, like, sequitur, if you will. And they're also bonding, which again is pretty nice to see between these two. I think they have a really good dynamic. And Julia comes in, proposing a Final Three alliance. Initially, Millie's like, hell no, we don't like you. But Priya's like, yes, we agree. Why? Because she's a shield for them. No complaints there. But then she also says that, it's also because Julia will compete in the challenges as opposed to Millie. Oh, for goodness sakes, get off of that. Okay, I know they have to give Priya a couple flaws. I'd argue a better flaw for her might be to be in the delusion that, no, I have to win this show for my parents, and not being focused on herself and what she wants. And she learns through Millie to maybe think, hey, should I be doing things because I want to? I think that'd be a much better flaw and moral to go by, instead of just, like, being over competitive. I mean, I've seen worse flaws with characters, but if you want me to say something I'd improve for Priya, it'd be that. But yeah, they agreed to an alliance, but out of 7 people left in the game, they need a 4th person, and they decide that Z will be the 4th for the same reason that Heather picked Lindsay and Beth for her alliance back in the first season, because he's, stupid and doesn't care. So yeah, they pull him into a bush, and he agrees to this Final Four alliance. Alternately, Bowie sees this strategizing going on. I guess he doesn't pick up that Z was already talking with them, but he decides that he needs to make a counter-alliance with Emma, his best friend, of course, and then her ex, Chase, which is immediately against, but he's like, come on, go flirt with him, get back in his good graces. And to be fair, he's not enabling Chase by any means. He's saying, we need the numbers. Do you want to stay in this game or not? And I don't mind that too much. He's not actually saying, like, no, you're a good couple together. I think even Bowie knows that they're not a good couple together. And Emma begrudgingly goes along with it. Of course, Chase is so oblivious that he thinks that, she really wants to get back with me. Nothing about this joke is funny. It's not, like, you can make classically stupid characters. In fact, we get one in the episode. We'll get to that later on, too. But this is not the way to do that, because it's tied to something a lot more real and tragic when it comes to Emma, because he nearly killed her by cutting her brakes and causing her to crash into a pet store. I don't find anything about that funny. If anybody else does, you do you with your humor. I personally find that cruel, and I don't get any good catharsis out of that. But whatever, she begrudgingly agrees. They agree to be a threesome, but of course, they need a 4th. Well, they're out of 4s. Oh wait, they try the same thing with Z. Well, naturally this won't work. It works. Apparently, he thinks, we're combining into a 7-person alliance at the final 7. Okay, that's the kind of stupid I can get behind. No one's actually getting hurt by this sort of thing. Okay, yeah, you need conflict and misery, of course, to make a joke work to a degree. Again, between Emma and Chase, it feels too grounded to something that just rubs me the wrong way. With this, it's just the game and Z being really dumb. I can work with stuff like that. Of course, then we get, let me see what happens next. He thinks there's so Z thinks there's some kind of big brain play to, get the alliances together, and he's gonna try and work with that. And then we get to the challenge announcement, where Chris says, our producers were telling us that we made the other challenges a little too mean, so we're gonna try and, like, lighten this one up a little bit. Sorry, someone zoomed past me on the road, I don't know. Yeah, he's gonna make this challenge a lot less menacing. He's completely lying about that, and I don't mind that too much. Again, like, compared to previous seasons, this is still a heck of a lot better. Like, on one hand, would it be kind of fun or kind of nice if he was completely sincere about that? I guess, but it is total drama island after all. You gotta have some big, crazy excitement going on, and if you take that all completely away, you're pretty much like that desensitized, itchy, and scratchy cartoon from, like, way back when with The Simpsons. It wouldn't be any fun. So, again, a little misery coming from Chris. I can work with that. What they're going to do is, like, a simple paddle race down the river. Then they're going to go through, like, this big field with just a bunch of what looks like wet puddles. And then up to a mountain to ring a bell. The first person to ring the bell wins immunity. Everybody gets into their canoes. Priya correctly assesses, just from, you know, the way Chris obviously acted evil. He was, like, rubbing his palms together, and he had, like, a quick kind of smirk in his mouth. And she's like, yeah, he's lying. It's gonna be something bad. And she warns Millie about this, too. And, she's absolutely right, because the rabbits immediately become a lot faster, and it hurls people around. And Z has a pretty good joke where he says, I saw my whole life flashing before my eyes. I have not had one vegetable. That's funny, and that makes too much sense. The weird thing is you look pretty dang healthy, but still not eating one vegetable. That sounds in character for the dude. I can't help it. So you have that. The Rapids also have an assault of flying fish on the contestants that they have to start battling. And Chase comes up with a strategy to Emma. Hey, because they're coming at us from both sides, how about we paddle side by side? That we were only battling against only like half of the flying fish coming at us. And she begrudgingly goes along with that too. Of course, it feeds into his oblivious, delusional idea that she's trying to get back together with him. But on the other hand, there is a part of this I do like, in that is actually a good strategy for this challenge. And Emma, despite her dislike of Chase, is like, yeah, I don't like you, but that's a good move. Let's do it. That's what should have happened back in Total Drama Action on Riot on Set, because during that challenge, Heather had the idea of, hey, if we're going to be bringing up all these supplies to the top of this hill, why don't we do it in like a relay style? That way it makes things a lot easier for every single person. And the team's like, well, we don't like you, so no, we're not doing that. Why? That's obviously a really good move. I mean, it doesn't really matter in the end, but we didn't know that. They didn't know that. Why don't you try the obviously smarter tactic? You think it's a bad idea because it came from a bad person? That's not how this works. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, it does work. Sorta. We see Chase bat away one of the flying fish, but it lands into Emma's boat, sinking it. It was a hard bat. And she jumps onto his boat, and of course she's mad at him. Now, to his credit, that was an accident. But it's not helping his case whatsoever. And as a result of this, she takes the fish that was at them and just starts slapping Chase with it. That's really funny. I love that. Suddenly some bears come out of absolute nowhere to attack the campers because of all this fish. Yeah, it's a cartoon, work with it. Emma and Chase end up on a beach somewhere, and they have to play dead for a lot of these, for a family of bears around them. Chase hams it up big time, kind of like that possum from Over the Hedge. And as a result, the bears very, very humorously get so choked up about it, they actually dig a grave for Emma and Chase. They don't actually kill them. They see him as dead, and they put them in the grave. I'm sorry, that is really dang funny. But Z sees they're in trouble and saves them by throwing a fish directly at the bears, and it sends them away like dogs with a stick or something, and he saves them. That's a pretty cool thing. Of course, Millie and Priya knows this, and they're like, isn't he with our alliance, though? Like, what sense does this make? But they then get the impression, oh, wait, he's trying to dissuade the other side from thinking that we're together at all. That's a really smart thing, and that's actually something that becomes a bit of a running gag. For much of the episode, people mistakenly assume that Z is actually an absolute genius. That's just really funny that they're like, okay, this guy looks like he's being stupid, but he can't actually be that stupid. You know what it reminds me of? McCrae from season 15 of Big Brother. That season is incredibly contentious. I'm not gonna lie, the gameplay is kind of dynamite, so there's a part of me that likes it, in spite of everything bad that happens in that season. There's some nasty stuff that happens in that season. But McCrae is a pizza delivery guy in that season, and he tells everybody that, and they're really like, no, you don't. There's no way that you look too slacker. Like, you had to be playing it. You're thinking like a tech billionaire or something. No, he's literally just a pizza delivery guy. He looks exactly like your typical pizza delivery guy. Why did they assume this? I don't know. I just found that funny. I'm guessing it doesn't matter in the end, since McCrae doesn't even get nominated until like over the halfway point of the game. So I don't know, but that is kind of funny. And the fact that everyone thinks that about Z, who, unlike McCrae, has, like, no brain. That's just really funny to me. We even get confessionals where Z is, like, in the porta potty, and he's just like, I forgot why I came in here. Okay, that's pretty good. Then we see a waterfall come up next, insert Emperor's New Groove joke or whatever, and, the contestants all roll down it, and they somehow survive, because of course they do. And Millie is like, well, at least it can't get any worse. Like, even Chris is insulted. Like, does she not know what happens when you say stuff like that? Okay, this episode has some pretty good, funny moments. Like, maybe not all compact together, but when you really like size everything up with like all the highlights, these are some very funny, positive highlights. Of course, then there's some crocodiles at the very bottom of the waterfall, but like a beast, Julia takes part of her roe and sticks it in the crocodile's mouth to, prevent her from eating him. That's pretty cool. Unfortunately, the crocodiles that are down there begin batting Julia around with their tails, causing her to escape. Eventually, Julia does too. I don't know. And they make it to that watery field that I mentioned at the very beginning, which... they're not really sure what that is quite yet, but they eventually realize that it is geysers, a bunch of geysers that they have to run through for and avoid. Now, Z comes up with a pretty good strategy of just running as fast as you can, so that if you set them off, you're going to be already ahead of them before they can try and propel you anywhere. Now, he says this right in front of the Girls Alliance, which then raises the suspicion of the counter-alliance of Bowie, Emma, and Chase. And again, they're like, oh wait, no, he's giving them a purposely bad strategy and helping them out. My God, he is so smart. No, he's... Okay, that strategy's not a bad idea, I'll argue, but... No, he's just an idiot. A very lovable, likable idiot, but an idiot all the same. Jeez. But, yeah, so that's taken out of the way. We see most of the characters make it to the actual mountain now, which happens to be a completely giant open-air beehive. It's basically a volcano filled with honey. And then angry swarms of bees. Winnie the Pooh would love this. He would take on this challenge any day of the week. Chase then gets blown from a geyser to the beehive, and it's like, oh my God, is he gonna win this challenge by absolute luck? No, he gets flown into the honey portion. And it causes the bees to swarm around and to take him somewhere else. And that's another thing I gotta praise for the episode. The animation with these bees, now they swirl. These guys have stepped up their game. Like, honestly, the animation in Total Drama from the get-go has mostly been really good, at least for Canadian animation in television. Because a lot of it's just like that typical standard, like Flash stuff you might see in like Johnny Test or whatnot. Nothing against it. It's just there's better you could do with it, and it usually has been better. But they are upping the ante with this, and I think that's pretty cool. So yeah, we get that. We get Bowie, who makes it to the top of the mountain first, but Julia is right behind him, and they get into a major tussle, like a full-on fight, if you will. Now, I'm not against this because, unlike Lashana fighting with Heather back in Slap Revolution, there's, this is just a fight for immunity. It's not like they're fighting each other for no reason whatsoever. I'm not saying I approve of violence. I'm just saying, like, I can't say y'all are outright in the wrong. You're just very, very, very fierce competitors. Like, nothing wrong with that. Emma tries going through the mountain to see if she can get to the top that way a little faster. It doesn't work, but I appreciate her thinking outside the box there. And she comes in the chase, who's like stuck into some honey like Han Solo. And he begs for assistance. The weird thing is, as much as I don't like this guy, you almost feel bad for him, because it's like, he's very obviously in distress at this point. But Emma's like, I kind of gotta win, I'll come back for you afterwards. Fair. And then we get a confessional which implies that despite the fact that she's been telling him throughout the game that, you know, they're not getting back together because she thinks he's an idiot, and that she might want to get back together with him again. Okay. I know a lot of people hate those will they, won't they kind of relationships you get all the time in media, and I'm not gonna like I don't hate them too, but I'm not outright against them if you do them well, because emotions are complicated human beings. So when it comes to romance, not everyone really knows, do they want to be with these people? Now, if there's something kind of stupid, like a one-factor thing that's preventing these people from getting together, like, say, Peter Parker and Mary Jane in the Sam Raimi movies, that's aggravating, because it's just like, just tell her you'll be happy that way, and that's kind of true. Not the full truth, but it was kind of true if you watch Spider-Man 3. But anyway, like, my point is, I can kind of work with that as long as, you know, there's a good precedent for why they don't officially get together. Here, though, the will they, won't they is aggravating because, yeah, there's an obvious answer here. Don't get back together with this idiot! No, you two are not meant for each other. The weird thing is, I saw one commenter saying that they are meant for each other in the sense that they're both terrible. Chase is obviously more terrible. I mean, I think Emma has the potential to move past this guy, but she keeps reeling herself back in slowly but surely, and I'm just like, Emma, you are not this stupid or dependent, or you can do fine on your own, or if you want to be with somebody so badly, a different guy, any different guy. I've seen people shipping Emma and Wayne together. I don't remember them having that much screen time, but sure, I'm okay with that. Wayne seems like he'd be a pretty good boyfriend. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed either, but he's smarter and more compassionate than freaking Chase. When Raj came out, he was like, yeah, I love that you like this. It's like, love who you love. That's a kind of, you know, kindness and respect that you should want from a boyfriend. Not the guy who cut your brakes and threatened to kill you. Sorry, I'm going on a major rant here. But yeah, she tries going through. Again, it doesn't really matter too much. As Bowie and Julia are at the top of the mountain fighting some more, Z makes it there as well. But Bowie and Julia at this point have fallen into a pit of honey, and Z has to choose between saving them. You know, it's funny that I mentioned Spider-Man a minute ago, because Z has to pick between which alliance to save. What does he do? I have two hands! And he pulls them both up. Sorta. Okay, he pulls them both up, but it causes him to fall, because that's just how science works. And of course, Bowie and Julia get back into their tussle again. Bowie has Julia pinned down. He's like, he can go to that bell and ring it, but he tries to get one more kick in, like verbal kick in to Julia, by saying that most of her followers on social media are bots. And what does that do? It fuels Julia to get back up and, you know, kick Bowie's tail and win the challenge herself. You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of when Scar from The Lion King had Simba, like over the edge of Pride Rock. Okay, like, he could have just dropped him there. You win the day. The Pride Rock's yours. You don't have any more adversaries. But he wants to gloat for another second, so he whispers in his ear, I killed Mufasa. And what does Simba do? Get back up, pin the bastard down, and then he wins the day. Scar, you could have won had you not been so freaking cocky. Same thing with Bowie, because Julia could have been taken out here if he really wanted to. They don't. So, Julia's immune again. I admire her fierceness. Like, again, as far as the villain goes, you could have argued she could have been like all talk and no action when it came to her becoming an antagonist, but no, she is very much action. And I fully respect like just how full force she goes with this game. Like, more of that, please. So Julia does in fact win. However, she falls off the side of the cliff at the same time. There's gonna be a bunch of casualty counters for Julia in this episode. She gets picked up by another swarm of bees and basically gets thrown to like every obstacle they went in beforehand. She gets thrown to one of the geysers, which intriguingly, while most of the other geysers were flying people towards the mountain, one of them flies her back to the river right before the waterfall, which she goes on there. It's just like, my goodness, that's a comedy of errors. But there's something kind of satisfying about it because, you know, she's the bad guy. Anyway, we get to the marshmallow ceremony where you actually do see a bunch of bandages and whatnot on Julia. I think realistically she should have been evacuated like Raj and Wayne were. In fact, I dare say she went through more stuff than they did in this episode. How is she still there? Did she demand, like, no, you don't pull me out of this game, not while I'm this freaking close to winning? I mean, if that was what she was like, then I gotta admire the determination there, but what? Anyway, so the alliances are targeting Priya and then Bowie. The Girls Alliance targeting Bowie, mostly because Julia wants that. And then the Counter Alliance targeting Priya, because of course she's the biggest physical threat next to, aside from Julia. But after they do the vote, Z, I love this. Z gets up, makes some kind of big grand speech about how their alliances are actually together, and what they're gonna do is vote Chris out of the game. You know what's funny? This is actually not the first time I've seen this kind of thing happen. Okay, it technically is, but it's not the first time I'm aware of it happening. Apparently back in like, I think the first season of Survivor, they tried doing the same thing back then with Jeff Probst. They're like, we're gonna vote Jeff Probst out of the island. I don't think that's an option, but I admire the joking play there. Okay, I gotta look up where I heard that from, because that sounds like it's too funny to be true, but I do hope that's true. Anyway, yeah, that's Z's plan, and then that's when it clicks to everybody. Oh, he's really just an idiot. Who, okay, not maliciously playing us, but still, like, playing both sides. Again, not with any, like, negative intentions. It's just, we can't trust him. He's too stupid. Let's get him out. So that's exactly what they do. They re-vote per asking Chris about that. I'm surprised Chris allows that, but sure. And Z goes home at 7th place instead. But he had a really fun time in the game. He's appreciative and he gets sent home. So that was Battlefield Earth. It's got a few small problems, but I can't say it's one of the worst of the season because there's a lot about that I do if I think is really cool. And even a lot of the stuff I was ranting about, like, you know, Bowie letting Julia get that win. That's not a mad kind of rant I'm giving you. It's just one of those things where it feels like he shouldn't be doing that, but it's not to the point where I think it's like desecrating his character. The only parts of it I don't like really are, you know, the whole Emma and Chase thing, stupid. And then maybe the little bit of a flaw we have with Priya still wanting Millie to be a stronger competitor. Like, isn't that kind of stupid on the face of it? Like, don't you want weaker competitors at this point in the game? I don't know. Don't you want to increase your chances of immunity? At least that's what I'm thinking. So, I don't know. But it's still not a bad episode by any means. I think it's still fairly good. And, yeah, we're really far into the season so far, and I've been loving most of what we've seen. Even the episodes that I didn't like had stuff in them that I liked. So, gives me really strong hope for the next few episodes, and I will see you all in the next vlog. Take care.